What's going on, Sooner Nation? Listen, if you've been on Twitter, you guys have seen that it's been a massive pack field day full of information with recruits narrowing down their top schools, including some five-star guys. And I kind of want to throw in some thoughts here and kind of give you guys a little bit of information of what I'm hearing and what you guys maybe should expect. So before we dive into it, before we jump into it, I need you all to do me one thing. I need you to hit that like. Well, I say one thing, couple things. I need you to hit that like and I need you to hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 8,000 subscribers by the month of May. And I think like 62% of you that watch the videos aren't subscribed. So just make sure you're subscribed there. And then I want to hear from you guys. So join the discussion and jump in the comments and let me know whether or not you think all of these prospects, multiple of the prospects, end up landing at Oklahoma. And I think we got to start off with the one and only, the five-star offensive tackle, Michael Fasusi. He narrowed down his list to a top 7 today. And I think a lot of Oklahoma fans have become really weary of this recruitment because you've heard the rumors that Texas is leading, or now you've seen that he was recently out at Texas A&M. And then you see Mizzou, like he talks really highly on Mizzou. If you guys watch that interview, you guys know what I'm talking about. The interview that we had here on this podcast. Make sure you guys go check it out, and I'll link it down in the description below. But Michael Fasusi puts out a top 7 of USC, Oregon, A&M, Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas, and Missouri. And I was talking to Jay over at Unfair Sports and Cooper earlier, and we were just kind of talking about the top 7. And I said, I believe this is really going to come down to about 4 teams. I think it's going to come down to Oklahoma, A&M, Texas, and Missouri. And I still don't want to get off the Oklahoma is leading train because here's the deal. Oklahoma, they just haven't gotten a visit in a while. And a lot of it's because Michael Fasusi wanted to do his due diligence and make sure that he was visiting some of these other schools. To put this in perspective so that people can understand why Michael Fasusi is visiting all of these schools. He had been to Oklahoma 6 times, 6 or 7 times. Now he has an official visit set up for June 14th, which is the same day that Ty Haywood is going to be on campus. But when you look at his visit list, he'd been to Missouri like twice, Florida twice, Baylor once, Oregon once, A&M 3 or 4 times, I think it's 3 times. He's been to Texas 4 times. Like before he started taking these visits this spring, like he really hadn't been to a lot of these places. So he needed to go see scenery, see what was out there. And if Oklahoma was the choice that he was going to make in his mind, he needed to make sure that it was the right choice, that Oklahoma was the place he wanted to end up playing his college career. So I don't blame him for that. Oklahoma, I think, is going to get him on campus. So they're getting him on campus in June 14th. I believe they're going to get him on campus for the spring game. He might come up another time. So maybe 2 times this month, and then you get him back for OV season. If you're an Oklahoma fan, you should feel pretty good about it. I don't think if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're going to worry too much there. As far as Michael Fasusi goes, I want everybody to understand that if he's taking visits to other places, and I'll share what I'm looking at, and obviously I think there's some visits here that have not been logged. When it comes to Fasusi, you're naturally going to start saying another team leads or another team is trending if they haven't visited the school that was leading in a while. But you got to kind of like read between the lines of why, right? So for me, and I was talking to some people about this in the Discord the other day, when it comes to Fasusi, I want to see exactly what happens in this recruitment post-official visit, which is on June 14th, post-spring game. What is the feeling after those 2 visits with Oklahoma when he's on campus, right? That's what we need to be waiting for. So I don't think it's time to panic yet in terms of maybe not landing 5-star offensive tackle Michael Fasusi. And that's why I have not jumped off the prediction. I think if you guys notice, I might be on I don't know if anybody else is saying Michael Fasusi to Oklahoma, but I feel like I'm on an island right now. Everybody's saying Texas. I think it's actually Oklahoma, Missouri right now for 1A, 1B. But I think right now we just need to see what the visit turns into after this month for the spring game, especially since Ty Haywood might be on campus. You'll have other guys there. But another guy that announced his top school list that I think we really need to pay attention to, and I think now that you're potentially looking at Landon Rink to go to Texas A&M, we really need to look at Trent Wilson, because Trent Wilson is a 4-star defensive line prospect and a consensus guy to, I think, be one of the top defensive line prospects in the country. I mean, 247 is the only one that's not super high on him, but On3 has him as the number 9th ranked defensive lineman. ESPN has him at number 11. Rivals has him at number 7. He's out of Upper Marlboro, Maryland, out of Dr. Henry Wise High School. 6'2.5", 260 pounds. This is a guy that I think plays the interior, but definitely needs to put on weight when he gets here. I know that Todd Bates has a really good relationship with Trent Wilson, and talking to a source after his visit to campus, it was in March. I think it was March 9th. Talking to a source there, it seems like Trenton Wilson really enjoyed his time. It seems like he really enjoyed the visit, and Todd Bates hit it out of the park. Obviously, if you're Oklahoma, you're going up against Ohio State and A&M. These are two schools that you have historically had issues with on the recruiting trail for defensive linemen. So I'm not going to sit here and say all is good and well with Trenton Wilson. I think Oklahoma has a long way to go. And you look at the visits, right? He's been to Penn State 7 times, guys. Seven times to Penn State. And Penn State puts out a decent defense every single year. Ohio State, he's been there 3 times. And you got Larry Johnson. And then A&M, he's been there twice. And he's only been to Oklahoma once. So Oklahoma, they got in this recruitment maybe a little bit later than you would have wanted. But I think right now they sit in a good spot. But let's not oversell what that good spot looks like. So Trent Wilson, 4-star defensive lineman, has Oklahoma in that top 4. I expect they're going to be getting an official visit. And I would imagine if you look at the visitors and when people are getting on campus for the official visit weekends, they're probably going to, I would assume, the circle date you'd want to get him on is Party at the Palace, June 19th through the 21st. But there's another weekend before that where you've got Ty Haywood and, hold on, let me look here. Ty Haywood, Michael Fasusi, and Floyd Boucard, which is July 14th and the 16th. I'm sorry, Party at the Palace is the 21st to the 23rd. I believe if you can't get him at Party, you'll want to get him on that 14th through 16th visit because you'll have another defensive lineman there, and you can really just focus on trench building maybe that weekend. So another addition that I would make to Party at the Palace is Kobe Sellers. So just keep that in mind. I think Oklahoma sits pretty well there. You just saw that he was at A&M, so I think a lot of people are kind of circling that one as well. But then you had Maliek Hawkins announce that he is going to be committing on April 10th. So this is a big one. April 10th at 12 p.m., Michael Hawkins will be making his decision. A 4-star cornerback. On3 has him as a 3-star. Rivals has him as a 4-star. I believe by the end of the cycle, he should be a 4-star with pretty much everybody outside of ESPN because I just don't really like ESPN's evaluations anymore. But when it comes to Maliek Hawkins, I don't think anybody expects it to be a Texas or a Mississippi State or an Arkansas pick at this point. So just keep that one in mind. It's upcoming. No new news there, right? I think everybody's pretty much on the same page when it comes to Maliek Hawkins. As we talked about with Ty Haywood, right? You're getting him on campus for an official visit on the 14th. And it looks like it will maybe be his last one. He's got 4 of them currently scheduled. He's got A&M on the 6th of June, TCU on May 3rd, and then Alabama on May 31st. So we'll have to kind of see how this one lines out. If OU gets the last visit and they get an opportunity to close, maybe you see this one wrap up late June, early July, which would probably track, to be on sense. And then last but not least, you guys saw that Lamont Rogers has 2 official visits already on the books. You've got Texas A&M on June 6th through the 8th, and you've got Texas on June 14th through the 16th. I kind of wonder if OU is going to get an official visit here. If they do, is it on Party at the Palace? Because Texas has already got the week before when you're going to have the other offensive lineman there, and I felt like that was the weekend you'd probably want him on campus. So interesting there. We'll have to see if Oklahoma's going to get one here. But if you guys remember, he was on campus recently with Markel Ford, Ryan Gilbert, and Legend Bay. All of those are going to be top-tier prospects in their recruiting classes. So we'll have to see where Oklahoma sits with this one. I think a lot of people are favoring Missouri here, but we'll have to see if Oklahoma ends up getting an official visit. So I guess nothing new outside of that. He just scheduled some. But guys, that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to make sure we're keeping a level head here during this recruiting cycle. I think Oklahoma still sits in a really good spot for Kobe Sellers and guys like that, but they're going to take visits other places. They've just been to Oklahoma a lot. And if you see them take visits other places and they're not coming to Oklahoma right away, listen, that's not because it's trending away or another school is leading. It's just because some of these guys, they need to go out. They need to explore other options. They need to make sure Oklahoma is the right destination for them. So I think the biggest question mark right now that I have is not at offensive line. It's going to be tight end, because it seems like all of the tight ends are trending away from Oklahoma in terms of Nate Roberts to Ohio State, Deshaun Brain to Oregon. You've got Lincoln Kier with K-State. I like even Chase Lofton, who is, I would say, Nebraska, A&M, Miami. I know Oklahoma is still in there, but man, he was just out of A&M and enjoyed that visit. So the tight end spot's the one I'm really watching to see, okay, like what happens here, right? Does Oklahoma make a late run at somebody? Who can they go out there and land? That's the one I think a lot of Oklahoma fans really need to be honed in on in terms of recruitments. But guys, if you have not already and you've made it this far, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like, you hit the subscribe button. Hey, and YouTube wants you guys to watch one of these videos below. So make sure you guys are tuning in there as